Hit it, hit it.
Hi, welcome to the Marley Bird YouTube channel. In this video, I'm going to show you how to make the horizontal ribbed cowl designed by Selena Baca. This is a free pattern available over at redheart.com. All the materials you need for this pattern are also listed over at redheart.com. All you need to do is click on them, put them in your shopping cart, and they can mail them directly to you, which is super convenient, don't you think? This cowl from start to finish took me an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. And I know that I can help you along the way with these wonderful videos so that you can make your very own cowl. In these videos, I'm going to show you how to begin with the chain stitches, work the setup row, show you how to do row 2 and 3, which are the repeats, and then you carry on and work all of the repeats until the cowl is as long as you want it to be. Once you're done, join me back here again. I show you how to finish off the cowl and whip stitch it together. Oh, goodness gracious. You're going to just love this cowl, I promise you. Go ahead and let's see what you need to make this particular cowl. The first thing I need you to do is download the pattern over at redheart.com. This is called the Horizontal Ribbed Cowl, and it's by Selena Baca. You're going to need 2 balls of Red Heart Grande metallic yarn, a size Q crochet hook or a 19mm crochet hook. I'm going to have you get a couple of stitch markers that are removable, a large eye tapestry needle, I prefer the steel needles, and a good pair of scissors. Go ahead and grab your materials and join me back here, and I'm going to get you started on this wonderful project. Okay, you have your materials and your pattern and you're ready to get started. Let's go. The first thing we're going to do is put a slip knot on our hook. If you need a refresher on how to do a slip knot, there is a video for that right here on the Marley Bird YouTube channel. Once you get your slip knot on your hook, it's important that we begin with 13 chains as the pattern calls for. So I'm going to yarn over my hook and I'm going to start doing 13 chains. Now, if this is the first time you've ever used a larger hook like this, it might seem a little bit odd at first because it's really big and kind of cumbersome. And you might think to yourself, you know what, these stitches just look so super big, I want to make them tighter. You don't want to do that, okay? You want to make sure that the size of the stitch is the same size as the barrel of your crochet hook. So I have been crocheting along. I don't think I have 13 yet. I'm going to do a couple more and then I'm going to count. And as I've been chaining, you've noticed I've kept my thumb on the top of the chains just like this. And what that does is it allows me to make sure that my chains are nice and straight. So I can sit here and I can count. Now to count, I can see these nice V's and I'm going to count each one. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 1 on my hook. Now I never count the 1 on my hook, so I have my 13 chains. That's awesome. I love it when things work out like that, where I wasn't counting and it just happens. So the next part of the instructions, it says row 1, right side. Double crochet in the 4th chain from the hook. So we never count the 1 on the hook, so we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're going to put a double crochet there. So we yarn over our hook, go into the stitch, yarn over our hook, pull up a loop. So I have 3 loops on my hook, yarn over, draw through 2, yarn over, draw through 2. Now the pattern goes on to say that the beginning chain counts as the first double crochet. So remember when I told you that I wanted you to have some stitch markers? This is where that's going to come into play. I want you to put a stitch marker in the chain, in the last chain, right there, because that's going to be the chain we work into when we come back on the next row. Now we know where it is, we're ready to move on. Now we have an asterisk in the pattern, and the asterisk indicates that this is a point in the pattern that we're going to be going back to and repeating. So we make note of it, okay? So we have a note that there's the star right there. It says skip next chain, so we're going to skip the next chain. and it says V-stitch in the next chain. Now don't automatically assume that you know what V-stitch is. You want to make sure you're doing the V-stitch as it's written in the pattern. So if you look up in the special stitches section of the pattern, you will see that it says V-stitch is a half double crochet, chain 1, half double crochet, all in the same stitch. So we skipped one chain. We're going to do a half double crochet. So I yarn over my hook, go into the stitch, yarn over my hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, draw through all 3 loops on my hook. So that's 1 half double. I'm going to get myself some more yarn here. Now I've got to do a chain 1, and I've got to do another half double in that same chain to complete the V-stitch, okay? So that is what the V-stitch is for this pattern. It's a half double, chain 1, half double. Now the pattern goes on to read that you're going to skip the next chain. So you want to make sure you don't accidentally, see how when you're putting all those stitches into one chain, it kind of looks like it eats up that little chain right there. You don't want to accidentally skip it. So make sure you're counting it. So that's the chain we're going to skip as far as skipping the next chain. And then it says double crochet in the next chain. So I'm going to yarn over my hook, go to the next chain, and do my double crochet. So I'm going to put my double crochet right here. All right. Now it says repeat from star. So remember when I mentioned that the asterisk, that's going to be the point of reference that we're going to go back to in the pattern. So we go back to that point and it says skip the next chain. So we just worked that one. We're going to skip this and we're going to do a V-stitch right into this one. So if you remember, the V-stitch is a half double crochet, chain 1, and then a half double crochet. All right, I love this yarn. It's so soft and bulky and it just works up so fast. All right, so we've done that. We're going to skip a chain and we're going to do a double crochet in the next chain. And then we end with a double crochet in the next chain. So we repeated the pattern from the star once. And then once we did that, the very last part of the instructions say to double crochet in the next chain and turn. So I haven't turned yet, but I want to lay this down to show you. We have our beginning turning chain, which is our double crochet. We've marked it. We have a double crochet right here. We have our V-stitch, double crochet, V-stitch, double crochet, and we ended with a double crochet. So knowing that these initial turning chains are going to count as a double crochet and we ended with one, everything is very symmetrical here. Can you see that? Sweet. Okay, row 2. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to chain 2 and turn. I like to do my chains first and then turn instead of turning and doing my chains. Either way you decide to do it is perfectly fine. You make the decision and just be consistent with it, okay? So I chain 2 and turn, and it says this counts as the first double crochet here and throughout. So my little thing I want to make note is many of you have been watching the videos and you've heard me say that a chain 3 typically represents a double crochet. So why is it that a chain 2 here is going to represent a double crochet? Well, the reason is with the post stitches that we're going to be doing here in a second, it makes the stitches, the double crochets we're going to be doing, a little bit squattier, and it makes them about the same size as a chain 2. And that's why Selena has made it so that you begin with a chain 2 here, okay? So I've used my other marker. I've marked the second chain for those chain 2s so I know where I'm going to begin when I come back on row 3, okay? So here we are. So I know that that one is that, and now I'm at a BPDC. So that's a back post double crochet around the next double crochet. So we can look up again where it says special stitches and we can read about how she wants us to do a back post double crochet. And here's how it goes. We're going to yarn over our hook and working around the post of this double crochet right there, we're going to complete a double crochet. So I take my hook, I come to the back of my work and I come to the right side of that post. You see that? I'm going to take my hook and go to the left side of that post and go back out to the back. So now my hook is like that. If I look at from the front, it looks like this, okay? I'm going to yarn over my hook and I'm going to have my hook travel back through that same path. So if I bring my hook back out where I came to the left side of the post, I'm going to come back out where I was at the right side of the post, and I'm going to pop that back up. So I'm back up level, okay? I'm going to go ahead and complete my double crochet. So the double crochet is just like any other double crochet. The difference here is that we've worked it around this post, okay? It's gonna look really awesome. So we've worked the post stitch, and now it says V-stitch in the next V-stitch. Now, in the notes section of this pattern, it mentions that whenever it says to work into a V-stitch, it wants you to work into the chain space of the V-stitch. So here is our V-stitch from the previous row. We have our half double, chain one, half double. Now we're going to put another V-stitch, and we're just going to do it right there in that whole space. You do not have to work into the actual chain, which makes things so much faster and so much easier. So I do my half double, chain one, and then my half double all into that V-stitch space. Now, just so that you guys know, because I've worked this pattern up even further, you're going to always stack these V-stitches in these V-stitch spaces just like that. Okay, the next part of the instructions say that we're going to go ahead and we're going to do a back post double crochet again, but this time it's going to be around this double crochet. So I've yarned over my hook. I go from the back to the front. I'm to the right side of that post. I take my hook. I go over to the left side of that post and go back to the back. I'm going to yarn over my hook, and I'm going to travel back through that same path. So I come out the left, come out the right, and bring that on up, and I'm ready to complete my double crochet just like that. Okay, I carry on, and this is a repeat, so I'm going to, oh, did you guys know what I just did? Look at that. Oh, this is a good thing. I'm not gonna delete this because this is important. I accidentally put the post around the half double crochet of my V-stitch. I wasn't paying attention. So if you do that, just be like, oh, all right, just rip it out, no big deal. So I'm gonna do this one more time. I yarn over my hook. I go into the right side of my double crochet, out the left side of my double crochet, back to the back, yarn over, and I travel back through the same path, come out, and complete my double crochet. That's better. See, it happens. All right, so if I set this down, I have my doubles, my back post doubles, my V-stitch, my double, and I'm ready to carry on. So here we go, and we're going to repeat. So this is where we're going to do our V-stitch again into that space. So I work my half double, chain one, and half double, all in my V-stitch. Okay, and I'm going to do a back post double crochet. So I go in from the back to on the right side of my post, around the front to the left side, back to the back, yarn over, and I bring my hook just back that same path. So back, and here we are. See, it's not hard at all. You can do this. The very last thing you want to finish is that we're going to do a double crochet in the top of the beginning chain. What's really convenient here is we've already marked that beginning chain, so we know exactly where we're going to put our double crochet. I'm going to place it right there, and Bob's your uncle. So you can see here, if I lay this down, I have it down with the wrong side facing, so it's the side that I've had facing me the whole way. My beginning chain two for my double, my back post double crochet, my V-stitch, my back post double crochet, my V-stitch, back post, and my finish with my double crochet right there. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next row, and to do that I'm going to make sure I undo this chain, or not this chain, this stitch marker, because I'm going to use it here. I'm going to go ahead, do my chain two and turn, because you know that's what I like to do, and I like to be consistent. And it says that for row 3, we're going to begin with a front post double crochet. Now, one way to remember as you're going along, if you don't want to keep looking back and forth to the pattern, is whatever the post stitch is as it's looking at you, that's the post stitch you're going to do. So as we're looking at this, we're looking at front post double crochets, because on the other side we did a back post double crochet. When you're looking at your work, if you do a back post and then you go around and you look at the other side, it's going to look like a front post. If you do a front post, run around and look at the other side, it's going to look like a back post, okay? So hopefully that makes a little bit of sense here to you. I've chained 2. I'm going to go ahead and take my marker and put it into the second chain, so I know that's where I'm going to join when I go back. I'm going to yarn over my hook, and now we're going to do a front post double crochet. So I'm going to go in from the front this time on the right side of my post. I go in, so in, and I'm going to come around to the other side of the post stitch. So see, I'm to the other side and back out. So I'm back up here to the front. I'm going to yarn over my hook, And I'm going to take the hook back the same path. So I come back, and now I'm back up here. And then I yarn over, go through 2, yarn over, go through 2, and I've completed my double crochet. I'm going to go ahead and do my V-stitch in my V-stitch. I don't even have to look at the pattern to know that that goes there, because remember I told you that all of these V-stitches are going to get stacked upon each other. So you don't have to look at your pattern. You can be like, oh, there's a V-stitch. This is what I'm going to do. Same thing when it comes to these post stitches. I am looking at a front post, so I know I'm on a front post row. So I would yarn over my hook, go into the right side of the post, come along the back, come out the left side of the post, yarn over my hook, and then have my hook travel that same path. So I'm coming back up, so I have my 3 loops on hook, yarn over, draw through 2, yarn over, draw through 2. And I'm gonna over here at my next V-stitch, so I'm gonna do my half double, chain 1, half double, all into that chain 1 space of the V-stitch from the previous row. I have another front post double crochet, so I yarn over, in from the front on the right side of the post to the back, come around the back, come out the left side of the post, yarn over, and then bring that yarn over down that same path. Complete my double crochet. And then I finish off with a double crochet right here where I've marked my stitch. I am good. And I'm ready to move on. So if I set this down, you can begin to see, oh look, these columns, these ribbed columns are beginning to happen, right? They look like they are pumped up on this side, and there's some V-stitches going on here. And if I were to flip this over, you really can't see the ribbed columns, right? Because they are back post when I look at this side. So as I go on to the next row, if I had put this down and came back and, oh, I can't remember which row I'm on, I can automatically say, okay, I am looking at back post here because all of my posts are really showing up over there. Those are front post. So I know I'm on a back post row. So I will chain 2, do a back post, do a V-stitch, do a back post, do a V-stitch, do a back post, and then finish off with the double crochet. All right, so you've learned how to do the setup row, row 2, and row 3. You're going to repeat the last 2 rows 13 times. Now that's according to the pattern. If you decide you want to make it longer or shorter, totally up to you. Just remember that you're going to need more yarn if you make it longer. Once you repeat it 13 times, the very last row, we're going to work 1 more row 2, and then we're going to finish it off and sew it together. Go ahead and work your pattern up 13 times. Join me back here, and I'm going to show you how to sew the pattern together. All right, so you're nearly done with your horizontal ribbed cowl. All you have left to do now is finish off and whip stitch it together. So I'm going to show you how to do that. If we look down here, I've just completed a row 2, which you should have completed, and it's time for me to fasten off. So what I'm going to do is I have my last loop on my hook. I'm going to yarn over, and I have already cut my yarn, leaving at least 24 inches. I think I left probably 30 inches because I don't want to run out. I've cut my yarn, and I'm going to yarn over, and I'm just going to pull that all the way through. All right, so I've pulled it all the way through, and I go like that, and I'm nice and secure. Now, what Selena wants us to do is she wants us to finish this off by whip stitching it together. So she says that she wants us to put our wrong sides and the first and last rows together. So we know that this nice rib here that we've created with our front and back post stitches is our right side. So we want to put it with our wrong sides together and our first stitches and our last stitches together. So she wants us to have it like this. So it's as if we have the right side facing us completely. I'm going to ignore my beginning chain right now, or my beginning leftover tail. I can weave that in just a minute. And I'm going to grab the tail that I left super long to make sure it's long enough to go down this whole row. And I'm going to thread it onto my needle. Now, the yarn is a little bit thick, right? It's a really thick yarn. And so it might be a little bit difficult to get on your needle. What I found is if I separate the yarn plies a little bit and then thread my needle with the yarn plies separated, it becomes a little bit easier. So I've separated my plies, I've pinched them around my needle, and I'm going to just push them right on in there. Okay, see how that works? It's a little fiddly, so give it a little bit of a try. Don't give up. It's okay. I have this attached right down here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a whip stitch. Now to do a whip stitch, what I like to do for this particular one is you can see the finished V's right here. See those from the very last row we did? And then we have the nice beginning chain. It's the last loop that was remaining on the chain when we began. I'm going to take the one chain from over here and I'm going to connect it to the outer side, side of the V over here, and it should come together real nice and neat. So I'm going to just come into this one and come out that one, and I'm literally going to just whip stitch it together. Pull that through, and so I worked that one already, so I'm going to come over here, I'm going to grab this one and this one. Can you see how that works? I'm going to grab and pull through, just doing stitch for stitch, because just like we began with all those chains, we should have all of that remaining all the way across. If we don't, if we work across and maybe you've accidentally skipped a chain, or maybe you just somehow, you know, one of your kids walked in and something just got awry a little bit, as long as everything is as even as possible when you seam it together, you're going to be just fine. Because this is a nice thick yarn. It's a great little join. It just looks really nice. All right. If you wanted to try out a different kind of join, maybe you wanted to do a mattress stitch or a woven stitch or something I call a lace-up stitch, you could absolutely try those out. But if you want to go along strictly as the pattern's written, this is what Selena suggests. So I'm just whipping this together. It's super fast. I don't know about you guys, but this entire project, it did not take me very long. Maybe an hour, maybe an hour and a half. Once you get going with those double crochets and the V-stitches, it really moves along, doesn't it? This would be a good project just to whip together if you have somebody that you need to just put a little bit of a, you know, lovely holiday gift or something together, and you just don't know what to do, but you know that they would love to have something handmade by you, and you don't have time to like make a blanket or a pair of socks. All right, so I'm up here to the very top. I'm going to go through my last couple here. And what you can do, once we've done all that, you can see it's all nice and just whip together. Nothing special, just a little whip stitch, okay? What you can do here is now I'm going to put this to where I have the inside of the cowl or the wrong side facing me, and I'm going to weave in my ends. If you find that your ends are just too bulky because of the bulky fabric and the bulky yarn, you can do exactly what I have done before about separating the plies and then weave in each end of the ply. We'll do that maybe with this one to show you what I mean by that. Otherwise, you can just take this and you can even split the plies on the inside and just secure it down the way, making it so it's not super bulky. It's just coming down a little ways, and we're going through the yarn just to let the yarn grab it a little bit so it doesn't come undone. Okay, and then I'm going to come back the opposite direction. One of the best things you can do when you're weaving in ends, and this is for any project, always go in and then come back out. And then it's nice if you can go in one more time like an S shape. It really makes it so that the ends are secure. I know that there are a lot of you out there who enjoy weaving or working over your ends as you crochet to tuck them in. I am not a fan of that because when I was first-time mom, I should say, I received a blanket, this beautiful crocheted blanket from a lovely friend of mine, and she had done that to weave in all the ends. And the first time I washed the blanket, all of the ends started popping out, and I was like, that is such a shame, this really beautiful crocheted blanket, and all of a sudden I have all these ends popping out all over the place. So before I became a mom, I was a big fan of just, you know, crocheting over the ends, but after that, I just found that, you know, it's worth it to take the time and just weave in the ends the best way you can, and the S shape is really good. You can see here I took my tail and I just separated the plies. So now I have 2 plies here and 2 plies here, and it makes it so it's a little bit easier and less bulky to weave in. So I'm just going to thread my needle with this ply, and I'm going to go through the same process. I'm just splitting the yarn and going through and weaving this part in. So again, I'm going in and I'm coming back out, as I weave around, just to make sure it's nice and secure, because as this is around the neck, it might get a little bit worked up a little bit with all the ends. I do the same to the opposite side. I'm just coming in willy-nilly, and this works really well with this big bulky yarn like this because it's virtually invisible. I mean, nobody's ever going to see it unless they flip it so that they're looking at the wrong side and want to find your ends. And again, you can just see I'm just going back in and out. Nothing is showing on the opposite side. I had my hand there, just making sure that my needle was never popping through. I trim those nice and tight, which I can because my ends are woven in really great. And I have this really beautiful cowl. And it's really pretty. There's the seam right here. So if I wear that in back, like, you can't tell that there is a disconnect right there. If this disconnect bothers you, you could absolutely do a mattress stitch or a woven stitch and connect those two really well, and that would be lovely as well. If you want instructions on that, you can find those right here on the Marley Bird YouTube channel. Okay, now you've completed the Horizontal Ribbed Cowl by Selena Baca. I hope you found this a really enjoyable crochet project. I know I did. My daughter has already claimed this particular cowl. She's behind the camera right now, and she keeps, saying, mine, mine, mine. So yes, Alora, you can have the cowl, no problem. This yarn is particularly fabulous, you guys. It's the Grande base yarn with a metallic thread wrapped around it, and it gives it a little bit of sparkle, which is absolutely perfect, especially for my little teenage daughter. If you have a lovely lady in your life who likes something warm and cushy around her neck and a little bit of glitz and glamour, you will love this Grande metallic yarn. If you don't like a little sparkle, you can absolutely substitute the Grande yarn with this. You can find all of that yarn over at redheart.com. As a matter of fact, right where you found your pattern, all of the supplies you need for this project are listed right there, maybe without the stitch markers, because I added those. I find those being as helpful as I'm working on these projects. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and you will come back for more right here on the Marley Bird YouTube channel. As my kids say, please smash that like button, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.